Welcome to the Women in Publishing Summit. I am your host, Alexa Bigwharf, and I am super excited as I say through all of these because it's just an amazingly exciting conference to be hosting. But I'm really, truly, truly happy to bring Kate Butler. Kate Butler is not only a #1 best-selling author and just like one of the most amazing people you will ever meet. She is also my mentor, and I have worked with her in her book projects, her collaborative book projects, which I am sure we will talk about. She offers coaching in a variety of services from mindset and publishing all the way through speaking and finding your audience and, well, all kinds of stuff that we will talk about with her. She's very well-rounded in this space. But what we're going to do today, one of Kate's superpowers, I think, is helping women really pull forward their story, the real story that they want to share, developing that, using that not only for writing a book, but also for finding your audience and speaking, and then some tools that she uses to help with mindset issues that come up around that. She's a powerhouse when it comes to soul healing, mindset type activities that really help you work through some of your blocks. And I know this because she has helped me in this capacity. So I am going to tell you just a couple things about Kate, and that is that she started writing with children's books, More Than Mud and More Than Magic. They've received the prestigious Mom's Choice Award for Excellence, the Reader's Favorite International Book Award, and have also been endorsed by popular children's brands, Kidorable and Garden State Discovery Museum. She follows her soulful mission to guide people to activate their core brilliance so they can impact people's lives and ignite their own. She's also a certified professional success coach, which she did through Jack Canfield and Patty Aubrey's program, which you may recognize those names from the highly, highly successful Chicken Soup for the Soul book series and coaching programs. So thank you, Kate. Like, I don't even know how we're going to possibly cover all that we could talk about in 45 minutes, but we'll do our best.
We will do our best. We always do. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here, truly.
Yes. All right. So let's start at the point where many women probably are right now, which is that they know they have a story in them that they want to share, but they don't know how. When you're working with your clients or with your Inspired Authors program, how do you help women draw that story out and coach them through that process?
Sure, absolutely. That's the best place to start, right? Because first of all, if you are at a place where you know you have a story that you want to share and you know that the story is going to, help heal or inspire others, congratulations. That's an amazing place to be. I certainly didn't just start there. So I think that if you're at that point, that you deserve to give yourself a lot of credit and really take a moment to look at, your journey that got you to this point of being clear that I have something I want to share. And I'm at a point where I want to look towards how I grow into that or how I expand into sharing that message further. It's the mindset piece, that we're going to get into here is a critical piece, in my opinion, for taking that leap, that next step. Because, I would say that the mindset piece is what shifted everything for me. It wasn't that I was necessarily completely unhappy in my life or that I had an unsuccessful company or, that anything was necessarily wrong. But what was happening in my life was that I was stale. It was redundant. There was no growth, right? And I couldn't figure out why I was doing all of the things, but I still felt completely unfulfilled in my life. And because I've shared this story before, that when I was 27, I was diagnosed with a fatal heart condition. And within 2 weeks of them diagnosing me, I was under the knife in surgery, right? They kind of rushed me through every test possible, got the doctors ready and all of that, everything that would have taken normally months to figure out what was even going on, right? They did it in 2 weeks and had me in surgery within 2 weeks because they didn't even know if I was going to make it to that surgery date, which was the soonest they could get for me. And so at 27, I really kind of had this idea of your time is now. Like, there is no more time. Like, if you are going to do something with your life. Like, it is now, it is today. Like, this is the time, because nothing is guaranteed after this moment here. And so I always thought I was going for it. But what I realized was I never really was truly connecting with what my true purpose was for being here. So, again, it wasn't that I was unhappy or doing the wrong things, right? Or that anything was completely wrong in my life, but I wasn't growing in my purpose. And the mindset piece is actually what shifted all of that. And it was almost like I had all the puzzle pieces in place, but they just weren't clicked in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and when I started the mindset piece, I went, oh my God, it all just clicked. I didn't even know there was a click. I was just kind of thinking, oh, these are all the pieces, and I got all the pieces and I'm doing life great. And when it clicked, I went, oh my God, I didn't realize that it could get that much better. Right. So the mindset piece is critical. I share all of that to say to you, if you're here, then you understand that you've connected with this message, with this purpose, with really what is meaningful in your life. And I really want to honor you for that, because I really understand the journey to get to that point. Mm-hmm. And now that you're here and you're saying, well, where do I now begin to share this story? The mindset piece is a critical piece to really set the foundation for being able to tap into that, to your soul's message, right? And to be able to share that the right way. So the first thing I have my authors do is really set an intention for, why do you want to share this story, right? And Alexa, you and I have been through this process together. And so, when you and I were talking about your story in Women Who Influence, you said, I have this big message and I've helped all these other women publish, and I've helped all these other women, create these best-selling books, but now this is my story. Like, I don't even really know, it's almost like, oh my gosh, now it's like the spotlight's on me and what do I do? Right. So the first thing is to get let me ask, did you feel that way? Cause that's what I kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had totally forgotten what it was like to share my own story. I'd gotten lost in everyone else's. So,
and we do that so often. Right. And, as women, we show up big for our husband, and we show up big for our children, and we show up big for our job, and we show up big for our clients, and we show up big for our parents, and we show up big for our friends. And then at the end of the day, the end of the month, the end of the year, we look back and we go, where did I show up for myself? Right. Mm-hmm. And this process is about showing up for yourself. And so once you identify this message, right, your story that you want to share, the first step is to set this intention of, what do I want to happen from this, right? Just be really, really clear about what is it that I want to be putting out there, in the way of, do I want this to heal 1,000 women? Do I want this to inspire millions across the globe? Do I want this to be an international message? Do I want my message to become a household name, type of thing, right? What do I want to happen as a result of me sharing the story, and just being really, really clear about what that looks like for you. Once you're really clear on that, the second thing that I always ask is, how do you want your reader to feel? Mm-hmm. If you start from the place of, how do you want your reader to feel? And I actually tell people, put it in your header when you're writing your chapter, right? When you're writing each chapter and when you're writing your book. Because if you're saying, okay, this is how I want my reader to feel. I want my reader to feel inspired, or I want my reader to feel empowered, or I want my reader to feel like they're not alone. When you start getting off track and you have that as you already set your intention, you can put your intention up there as well. So now you have your intention and how you want your reader to feel on the top of the page. Even if you don't read it as you're typing, it's there. It's set the foundation, right, for guiding you, even from an energetic standpoint, but it's guiding you through how to write your story effectively. Okay. And the last thing, and there's only 3 here to kind of start us out. But the last thing that I always ask is, what do you want your exchange to be with your audience? Right. So you've put out from like a universal standpoint, this is my overall highest intention. If anything could come out of this, if I were to get 3 wishes, once this book publishes, like, what would I want to happen? That's your intention, mm-hmm. right? And then how you want your reader to feel is like, what do you want their takeaway to be? Like, when they close that book and they're done, what do you want them to go and do, right? Mm-hmm. What do you want them to feel like? What do you want them to say to someone else? This is how do you want your reader to feel? That's number 2. And then number 3 is, what do you want your exchange with them to be? You are going to be investing time. You are going to be investing emotion. You are going to be investing energy. You are going to be investing money. You are going to be putting a lot of investment into this project, right? So you are giving, 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 giving. We know what happens when we give, we get back. So unless we're clear about what this exchange is, you're just going to get what you get and you can't get upset, right? Just like my daughter taught me in kindergarten. She came home from kindergarten one day. She's like, Mommy, you get what you get and you don't get upset. And I was like, yes, maybe. Except if you decide to co-create, right? And you decide to participate in what that exchange is, okay? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to participate in our exchange. So we're going to be clear about what we want our exchange to be so that we can really, not that we can control life. We can't control the weather. We can't control certain events that happen. But we can, from an energetic standpoint, be clear about what we're putting back and what we're willing to receive back. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
That is such incredible information. This is day 1 of the summit, and we have several panels and different people talking about embracing their story and talking about their story. But I love how you just gave like the very practical, outline of, okay, I love the idea of putting the feeling in the header. And for anybody who might have missed what she meant, just to clarify, like if you're typing in a Word document and you can add a header to the top of it, that's what you meant, right? Adding it in there. So it's like kind of like you're putting a subtitle or a chapter title to that particular part. That's so great though. I never thought about doing that. I think that's really a phenomenal idea, because I think like you explained, it brings you back to, okay, this chapter is hopeful, so let's not go down those dark, deep places.
Precisely.
Chapter.
Yep.
I love it. Those are
precisely
points.
And if you can't figure out the header thing, because I have some clients that are like, I don't do tech. If that's techie,
just write it at the top of the first page.
Just copy and paste it on the top of each page. I should have just said that.
That's awesome though. I mean, what a great way to keep you focused because I do think, especially when you're writing on heavy topics or topics where we are trying to help other people heal or grow or change or positively, influence them, that it is very, very, very much about evoking something from them, leading them down a certain direction. And hopefully by the end of your book, if you've done it well, producing some sort of a change in them. So what a great guideline. So, okay. So we've talked now about how to actually get that, get our feelings around the story and start pulling it from us. So then we sit down and we write, and then what happens?
So the first thing that I recommend before we even get into writing, right? Because this is our foundational work that we have to kind of set the stage with. But before I would even get into writing, what I recommend is that I bring meditation into all of my practices, right? And so whatever that means for you, funny enough, I actually have a webinar tonight that I'm doing all around meditation, because it's a huge part of all of my teachings, right? So I do business coaching, I do mindset coaching, I do success coaching, I am a publisher, right? And it doesn't matter in what capacity we are working together. Meditation is a thread through all of those things, because it brings you back home. It's recharging you each day for you to start connecting with your source, so that you can always be coming right from that place of your soul's purpose, right? And working from the inside out versus just responding and reacting to what's going on in the world. And I really think that's an important shift. And so a lot of people are like, but am I doing it right? And how do I start? And where do I begin? And like all this kind of stuff, right? So the good news is that you can't be wrong. Right. You can't be wrong when it comes to meditation. And there are a lot of different forms of meditation. And so whether that for you, that is prayer, I pray and I meditate. To me, they're two different things. Prayer is, for me personally, prayer is more of a conversation and kind of asking, and I'm praying for something specific, where meditation is more receiving, right? Just, being open to whatever unfolds, right? So for me, it's a little bit of a different practice. I participate in both. For you, meditation may be prayer, and that just may be what it is for you and your connection to your higher power. It could be journaling, right? But this is different than writing your story. This is just to get you into the flow, okay? And so when you are able to center yourself, even for 3 or 5 minutes before you begin writing, this is just a practice of, any of the things that I mentioned, getting into a place of centering yourself, centering your energy, calling in your intention that you've already kind of set the stage for, and just bringing yourself to a place of, really tapping into the essence that's in you so that you can effectively bring that out in your writing. So you're writing from your highest self. You're writing from your soul's purpose. You're not writing from your head space or from your ego space, right? You're really writing from, this divine essence that only you can share with the world. And so that is where I actually would begin.
It's funny. You know me, the audience does not know this, but I was very skeptical on the whole, I like to call them the woo-woo things, the meditation, all of these soul cleansing things. But I'm going to tell you what, it works when you're willing to open up your mind. We were just talking about this yesterday. You asked about, as you were talking about your webinar, and I was like, on the days that I don't, like, I'm not like your case study here. I don't always meditate. But on the days that I do, it really helps me focus and I feel energized. I feel really super clear. And on the days that I don't, I feel kind of jarbled all day long.
Well, you're exactly my case study. That's exactly it. None of us are perfect. None of us are like, I'm meditating for 20 minutes every single day without fail. Life never disrupts me. Like, I have 2 kids. Like, I'm running back and forth to school every day. My kids don't take a bus. Like, it's nuts over here, right? So, like, life happens, absolutely. But we charge our cell phones every single day. Why would we not think that we had to recharge our own battery?
Right.
So what happens is that we give. We talked about this in the beginning. We give, we give, we give. We run, we run, we run. We are doing all of the things all of the time, and our energy does get depleted. And when we sleep overnight, that is a lot of where our energy rejuvenates. So by the way, just a little feng shui, little tidbit. I know we're not here to talk about that right now, but clean out under your bed if there's anything under there, because the energy circulates throughout the night. And in order for you to get the best night's sleep possible, which is where your body rejuvenates the most, your energy must be clear all around your space. Okay. So clean nightstands, clean under the bed. I'll just leave it there for now. We can talk about feng shui another time. Okay. So, but seriously, it's like if we're writing from this place of we've just filled everybody else up, right? We've just run around all day and now we're sitting down at the end of the night to just, to give whatever we have left. We're kind of like working at 30, 40% if we're lucky. Even if we start writing in the beginning of the day, right? It's like we've refilled as much as we could by sleeping overnight. But from yesterday, we're still probably working at like 80% when we wake up. The only way that we really fill ourselves back up is when we completely recharge our battery by plugging back into our higher power, right? We are not in this alone. This is not about us. We are all here for a specific reason. Whatever your belief is, I know that we believe that, right? Anybody that's connected to you is going to believe that you are here for a reason. So to connect back into that reason each day, to fill yourself completely up, to recharge your battery, now you're writing from this place of this energy that you're talking about, right? Because you're completely filled up. So that's why it's really so important to connect to this as much as possible whenever you can. No one's perfect, but as often as possible.
So along those lines, one of the things that I've found really, really, really helpful, and you have a great journal that I actually use every day. It sits right here on my desk. And on the days that I start with meditation, I start with this journal. And I think one of the most helpful things, especially if you're new, is starting with like mantras and affirmations. I didn't plan on going down this road today, but I think it might be a really helpful thing for people if they want to get into it. Like, how can they get themselves in the right space? Can you talk a little bit about how mantras and affirmations can be used by writers?
Sure, absolutely. So, we how we get off track throughout the day. So I'll start by I think morning rituals are critical for your success in every area of your life. The way you begin the day is the way you're going to end your day. And the way that you end your day is going to be the way that you end your week, your month, and essentially your year in your life. I mean, it really is, how you start your day is going to put out the energy for everything that's going to unfold thereafter. And part of a morning ritual, is, this process of meditation, and you're on track at that point. You have called in the energy, you have kind of put out for the day what you want to receive back in, and all this can be done within a few minutes. This isn't like,
right.
I don't have an hour in the morning, you know what I mean? So yeah, a couple of minutes, right? Just really setting a clear intention in the morning, just like a clear intention for writing your chapter, and calling in what you want to receive, being proactive about your co-creation process, rather than just being like, whatever's going to happen today is going to happen. I don't live life like that. Right. I say, like, today I am willing to call in clients for X, Y, and Z. And without fail, by the end of the day, I'm getting an email, I'm getting a Facebook message,
right.
Someone's giving me a referral. It just is magical what begins to unfold when you're very conscious of your thoughts. And so this is where affirmations and mantras come in. The way we get off track is through our negative self-talk, right? And so we fool ourselves. We're crazy. We're so mean to ourselves. It's like if you talked to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself, you wouldn't have any friends, first of all. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. We're so mean to ourselves. So it's like, first of all, just to get into check about that a little bit. It's right. You're not a horrible person. You're not the worst person on the planet. Like, you didn't fail at everything in your entire life. Like, you are smart. You know what I mean? You can do it. You are capable. You know what I mean? You are beautiful, right? You do look amazing in your own skin. Like, all of these crazy things that we try to tell ourselves, and we psych ourselves out. And this is where the affirmations come in. And it's not because we think, if we say, well, we're not here to talk about money per se. So let me use something that might apply. So if you were thinking like, okay, who's going to read my story, right? That's a really, really common thought for people who are writing. And so you go down this rabbit hole of like, all right, well, why am I even doing this? No one's even going to read this. I'm going to make a fool out of myself. I'm going to put all this work and I'm going to talk about it. People are going to know I'm doing this, and then no one's going to read it. And now I've wasted an entire year of my life and I feel like a complete fool. Nothing's even happened yet. This is all in your head. Right. And so what affirmations will do, like, especially when you start in the morning. So now it's kind of clearing for the day, right? That you are putting a new energy out there, that my story is valuable, that people are waiting for my story, which they absolutely are. Nothing you have gone through is in vain. Right. And so this story is important. You have gone through what you have gone through for a reason. And if you are feeling called to share it, that it is critical that you get out of your own way and that you begin the process to share the story. And part of how you get out of your own way is saying, I'm going to recorrect that language of me psyching myself out, right? And so you are valuable and your story is valuable and it is going to change lives and people are waiting. And so when you start to replace this negative self-talk with this new language, with this new story, with this new dialogue of what is true, because in your heart when I say that you are here for a reason and that this story is going to help someone who is waiting. You know that in your heart. You can feel that shift right now listening to this when I say that. You can feel that shift. And when you hold on to that feeling, that shift, and you start to replace that language all throughout the day, this is where affirmations can really help you move along in this process.
Yeah, I agree so much. It's cool. One of the things that Kate did for her authors was she arranges a lot of different guest speakers and experts to come in. But one I thought was super, super neat was when you arranged for Jack Canfield to come in and have a call with us. And I got to ask him a question. And my question was, you work with a lot of people. What is it that you see that makes the most successful people the most successful? And he also said exactly what you said. One, they know their why. Backwards and forwards. They know their why more than anything else in the world. And two, they do daily meditation, affirmations, all these things to keep themselves on track. So if you don't think that this stuff will help you or is useful, there's a lot of evidence out there to be contrary to that. I want to say that I love this journal. Like I said, I use it every day. We got this at your
Thank
conference.
you.
Ignite My Inner Magic. We will have the link to this in our bookstore. It's a daily guidebook.
And also what I'll do is I'll show you the new version that just came out.
Oh, that's pretty. It's purple. Purple's my color.
We like updated, and this is like the new 2019 version.
I love it. Can we sneak a peek at the inside?
Oh my goodness. It would be my pleasure. So we have
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes. Enjoy the magic and the unfolding. And then here's mapping out your vision and your goals. I love a good pen to paper, obviously, as a writer. And so it's all like celestial in here. It's like so pretty. And then here's like all the things for keeping on track with what we're talking about, our goals, our mantras, here's a mindful mantra actually each week that you get. I know this is backwards, but anyway, at the beginning of this, we explain how to use each section, so you're not kind of just put it in there blindly. But so that's the inside.
That's so great. I love it. And if you need a guidebook to help you, if you're interested in this, if something's been poking at you that you need to do affirmations or follow these things, I encourage you to check out that book because it's been very helpful to me. So like I said, I was one of those people. I was like, Kate, I want to meditate. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. And she's like, relax, go find 5 minutes of quiet. I think you told me to lock myself in the closet 100%. For 5 minutes in the dark. And that's what I did. In the bathroom, wherever. And that's what I did. And I'm so glad that I started it because it makes such a big difference in just pulling yourself together and being able to move forward, because let's talk about being vulnerable. I mean, putting your bearing, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, anytime you take words out of your head and create a story or a concept or share your personal story or deep, dark things that have happened to you or whatever, it doesn't get more vulnerable than that.
It sure doesn't. It sure doesn't.
So you have to be protected.
Yeah. And the thing is that we think no one's, paying gosh, the vulnerability is so interesting because it's like I'm putting these words that are in my head out on paper, and you're just not sure who's going to react, how they're going to react, or really if anyone's even caring.
Right.
That's like one of the main things is like sometimes I really think that the non-caring or that we think no one's listening is harder than negative feedback because being ignored is like the worst thing. Like even if you're getting some type of attention, it's better than no attention, right? Like as a child or something, right? So like we kind of carry this conditioning, into our business. And I'll share with you that, even at, there's probably like combined with my like professional business page and my personal page, I probably have somewhere upwards of, almost 30,000 followers now. Right. So I still put out posts and I go, no one's going to pay attention. Like who's going to, it's crazy that's what I mean. Like we're so funny with ourselves. And I put out posts and I'm like, I don't know if that landed with anyone. I don't know if anyone cares. Here I am like pouring my heart and soul out, right? Really trying to like share something with someone to give them a different perspective or a different insight and, get in my own head and say, did anyone even really care about that? And then I've just opened up my heart. So now I feel super vulnerable about that.
Yeah.
And I was feeling this way, holidays are always so interesting, always stirring up all sorts of family good stuff and all that. And I was feeling super vulnerable around the holidays. And in January, we had a kickoff meeting for a local networking group. And there was a handful of women there that I had never met before. It was like the big January meeting. So a lot of people came that don't normally come.
Right.
So there was about 7 or 8 women there that I had not met yet. And they all kind of had followed my page, right? So they were familiar-ish with my work. And every single one of them brought up a post to me that had happened over the past year, right? Wow. I didn't know they liked it. They certainly didn't comment on it. I have never connected with them, had a conversation with them. I did not know them. And every single one of those new people that I met that night said, oh, you were in Nashville with the ULA guys. I love the ULA for Life books. And how did you connect with them? And tell me about their media campaign, right? I go, that happened almost a year ago now. Literally, it happened like 11 months ago. Like, I can't believe you remember that. I've had no communication with you in the last 11 months. And you remember a post I put up 11 months ago. So, and they all did that.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, you know what? Even if I don't know by a click or a comment, if people are paying attention, people are listening, they're watching, and they are receiving what you're putting out when it's meant for them, right? Because they all had a different thing that they mentioned. It was what connected with them. So keep doing what you're doing, because your words are going to impact the people that need to receive them.
I agree. That's such a great point. And if we can transition just a little bit, actually, because especially for those of us who are writing stories to really, really have a big impact and to help others, like, the most important thing that we can do is to share our message in a bigger way. And this is something that you are super passionate about, is helping your authors figure out how to share the message in a bigger way and how to be visible. And I think that posting authentically and not worrying about who's watching or who isn't watching is so important. And I've had similar experiences where people have come back to me months, days, years, where you don't even realize that they were paying attention, and they come back and they say, whatever they come to you for. So if you wouldn't mind, like, I know that for a lot of us with big, big stories that really want to change the world, like, one of the best things that we can do is really put ourselves out there, speaking and getting bigger, because that's one of the best ways to get big engagement, right? Is to get in front of a huge audience. Can you help us walk through that process of how we take that message and how we craft it? Because it's one thing to write something, it's a whole different thing to speak it.
Yeah. So, it's so important to me that people feel seen and heard, to the point that I created an entire event called Visible that I do every year. It's happening on August 16th. Please be there.
Yes.
In all seriousness, please be there, because I want every single person to be seen and heard. And this is all the stuff that we get into there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this specific process of how do we write our story? How do we get aligned with our core clear message? How do we write a story to connect to the hearts of our audience? And then how do we speak it to connect to the hearts of our audience? This is all the stuff that we take people through, in helping them, in our book series. Right. And so it really is a clear process that you go through. It's a very specific technique. And in the time that we have here today, I will share what I can with you. But we take, when we have our authors come in for our collaborative book series, we are taking them through a 6-month process,
right,
of all of the things that we were talking, here through today. But what I'll do is I'll pull out, kind of how your story and your keynote are connected, and the things you can take away from this conversation and go and apply to connect with your audience. So first of all, it's really, there's 2 things I want to say. Number one, it's actually really not that different to write your story and speak your story, and I'll explain how in a minute. And number 2, yes, speaking is how you you're writing an effective keynote, is how you get in front of large audiences, but it's not, I don't care about the size of an audience.
That's true.
Like, I will still, I talk to thousands of people a year. Okay. And I will still show up for 5 or less.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that, because when I show up with an audience of 5 people, those 5 people are with me we are in it together now. We are together for life. No joke. In fact, just this past Sunday, I went to an event with 8 people, and we will be in it for life now together. Yeah. And I will take those 8 lifers any day. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
And I will also take 8,000 any day, but neither one is better for me personally. Okay. And people always say, like, how did you get on stage with Marianne Williamson? How did you get on stage with Jack Canfield? And I say, because I started with 5 people, and then it was 50 people, and then it was 500 people, and so on and so forth. Right. But I'm not too good for 5 people, and I never will be. Okay. As long as my schedule allows for it. So, but it is important, because a lot of people be like, oh, if it's not a big keynote, like, how can I, it's not for me. And that's cool if that's your jam. But for me, it's about the impact. And so if my schedule allows for me to show up and make an impact, I will do it because that is what my clear why is. Okay. So how do we do this? How do we connect with the hearts of our audience? So a lot of people, and you'll notice this now that I say it, so most speakers will, and you'll notice this now after I said this, right? So you'll notice that most speakers say, okay, this is who I am. This is why I am here. This is my credibility. And this is what I'm going to teach you today. And I want you to come with me. I want you to jump from this mountaintop over to this mountaintop. Okay. And you're going to change this in your life too. Right. So you're like, all right, that sounds great. That's great that you accomplished that in your life. Yes, I want to change that in my life. But then you're like, but wait, I'm going to jump. I'm going to make this leap with you. I'm going to take this huge risk and jump over from this mountaintop to this mountaintop. We just met.
Right.
Like I want to change that. I want to get there with you, but we just met, So the thing about it is, just like in the beginning of this, like Alexa, and with our time, I get it. Like we just want to dive right into the mindset stuff. And I kind of took us back and I said, but let me tell you a little bit about my story. Let me tell you a little bit about, when I'm 27 years old and my friends are worried about what concert they're going to that weekend. And I am there wondering if I'm even going to make it to Saturday night because the doctors weren't sure that I was. Right. And so that was my reality at 27 that shifted my entire life. Okay. And when I am sharing that with you, when I'm opening up my heart and you feel that, right? That's real. You can feel my energy around that. So now that my heart has opened, your heart has opened too. So I could tell you all I wanted to tell you about meditation and affirmations and keynote speeches, right? And you would have had some takeaways, but it probably wouldn't have landed as much until your heart was open and you were really ready to receive that information, right? But once your heart is open, you're ready to receive it, and now it's resonating at a much deeper level. So we begin our story that you're writing and your keynote with, yes, your credibility. Who are you? And what is your credibility for this information that you're going to share with me, right? You did that beautifully in the intro. And then it's about saying, okay, now that we're at this mountaintop and you understand where I am today, let's talk a little bit about the journey to get there so you can really understand who I am as a real person, as a mom, as a wife, right? As, a cab driver with my kids.
Exactly.
As a business owner. And then, so I'm taking you with me on this journey, right? And then I'm also sharing, some real life challenges that had happened to me in my life as well, that are all real things that shape me to get me to where I am, right? And now that I've kind of come down and you're like, oh, okay, now my heart is open, right? And we are
one of us.
In this space, right? We're all the same at the core. We all want the same things, right? To be loved, to be seen, to be heard.
Yeah.
And then we come back up the mountain together. So rather than making you jump and take a leap and take a huge risk, what I did was I walked with you. Do you see this? Now we're walking together back up the top of the mountain, and I'm explaining to you step by step how you get there. And now we end up in the same place. But what did I do in the process? I established trust, right? I established credibility, right? And I made you feel comfortable, open, hopefully loved, seen, and heard, rather than just pushing you off the cliff and saying, I hope you know how to fly, right? So it's a little bit different of an approach. And so when you can do this, when you can really, kind of map out your keynote in this way to say, start with your credibility, then bring them through your journey, really connect with the hearts of your people, walk back up the mountain together with what they can apply, and then end, right, with what you want the takeaway to be. That is when you will start to connect with the hearts of your audience. You will be referred to the next speaking engagement from the one that you are at now, and you will be on stage with whoever you want to be on stage with in 6 months or a year from now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so funny you did that so beautifully too, like just telling us about your story and adding it right in there in such a natural way. It's not even, next thing you know, we're all in it. Oh my gosh, she almost died. Tell me more, what happened? That's so true. Like it has to be an important part of that connection, or you're just one other person who's writing a book, who's sharing a story.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's what's real. It's like, this isn't just like, a Zoom call for me. Like there are hearts on the other end of this listening,
Yeah.
and it's like, I want to connect with that heart. It's the only way that together we're going to make the impact and the difference that we want to make. Right. So it's what's real.
Okay. So let's talk about Visible Live, because I want everybody here. I need to be full disclosure to tell y'all about this event. I decided, well, Kate announced it last year. It was for something she wanted to do for her authors. She made it free to her authors, which I thought was like, what? What's going on here? What's the trick? I think we paid $50 to get our supplies, which is totally reasonable. So something about the event, I was just like, it sounds just right. Like I was in that place. I've been writing my story. I've been sharing my story, but I didn't know how to take it to the next step. And I know that to be more impactful in this world, I have to get in front of a bigger audience. I can't do the things that I want to be able to do without being visible, without selling more books, without, making more money. And I'm coming to terms with the fact that that's not a dirty thing. So when she announced it, I printed it out and I was like, I just feel called to do this, even though it's like at the craziest time of my life. We had a family funeral. We had all kinds of stuff happening around this space. But I was like, I'm going. And it was life-changing for me, like life-changing, which is so funny to say that out loud. Every time I say that out loud, I'm like, yes, it was a business conference that changed my life. But it was more than a business conference. You brought the soul healing, which is where I really resonated. That may be what resonates with you or not. But there was business stuff. There was connection. There was the community of women who had each other's backs. I've never felt the vibe of absolute safety in numbers like I did at this event.
100%.
Okay. So that's my pitch for it. Now your turn to talk about what's happening in the next one, because it's in August, ladies. So there's time to save money to get there.
Absolutely. Yep. You fly right into Philadelphia. It's a super easy airport. The hotel is right nearby, and it is absolutely a business conference and more, because we are not just our business.
Right.
Like we must encompass all of the parts of ourselves, right? This is about our life.
Yeah.
All of this. This is our life. This is our one shot. This is what we get, right? And you can't, it's not just about, okay, how am I going to make 6 figures a month in my business? We'll talk about that. In fact, I think I brought you up on stage, Alexa.
You sure
to
did.
map that out for you while we
sure
were there, right? And so we'll talk about that. And we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to dig in. We're going to do specific strategies around it. You're going to leave with an action plan around it. We're going to get into the numbers. I mean, we do all of the things, right? But it isn't just about that money, because the money it's not the end game for anyone. Even if you believe that it is, it's not. And so it's like, okay, now how are we going to get to the place of sustainable fulfillment in our life, in our relationship, right? In our marriage, with our children that, are going through a difficult time, with our parents that we're having a difficult time with, right? How are we going to really have that harmony in our life, right? And so it's not just about business. It's not just about meditation.
Right.
It's not just about one area of our life. This is all of you. I care about all of you, right? And so it is an interesting and beautiful conference in that way. But really, it's for people who want a deeper connection. They want true fulfillment. They want to learn the specific techniques to really live life on their terms, the exact way they want it, shine from their heart, shine from their soul, and really live out their why in the best way possible. So yeah, you're all welcome to join us.
And the awesome part is that she's not just an author coach. She is a business coach. There's a lot of stuff coming in here. There were phenomenal keynote speakers that came in throughout the time of it. But let me tell you what it did. It cleared my mind so much. I remember sharing in this in the group after I got back home. Like usually I come home from a business conference feeling very drained. I've just consumed so much information. I don't know, but this one I felt, not only did I feel really, really revived energetically, on the flight home, I mapped out the outline of 3 more books. Now, I wish I'd continued on with that energy because I got home and got busy and haven't done much with those books, but I have the outlines now. And I was like, the stuff that was just spewing from me
Yeah.
was incredible. So I had no intention of turning this into a sales pitch for Visible Life, but for anybody who has hung in here through this conversation this far, you've demonstrated you're interested in these types of things, and I really, really, really want to provide you the tools and resources of how to make it to that next level on an energy level and all those types of things. So, I mean, if you haven't figured it out, I'm a huge fan of Kate's. And as long as I can make it to her events, I will be there.
So what we'll do, Alexa, is anyone who has found out about Visible through this summit, we will give them access to Visible Live at the author's rate. So we'll put in a coupon code with the, I think you were going to put a link to the Ignite Your Inner Magic journal and daily guidebook. So along with that, we'll put something for Visible so that you guys can access it at the materials rate. So you're basically able to come for free, just cover your materials and we'll be good to go because we would love to have you.
That's an amazing, amazing, amazing offer. Do you have enough room for 1,200 women?
Yes, yes, we do.
That's the intention. I'm just kidding. I don't know how I feel about that because I like the small vibe as well, but I know you'll make it work whether it's 5 people or 8,000. So like you said,
I know we're wrapping up here, but I want to share one thing just to kind of really encourage anyone who is in the process of writing, sharing, keynoting, doing all the things to really, if this is your dream, to really encourage you to sink your teeth into it. The place that we're having Visible Live this year, I actually started hosting retreats. My first retreats in hotels were at the same place. I started hosting retreats in my home. After 2 retreats, I maxed out my house at about 30 people in my house comfortably, and we maxed out. So I moved to a hotel and then we had about 50, we grew, organically over time. But I wanted this main conference room. Okay. You step through the glass and I was like, I would like to rent that room. And they were like, well, you don't have enough people. And I'm like, but is it open? And they're like, yes. I'm like, well, I'll pay for it. Like, I want that room. And they're like, we can't give it to you. You don't have enough people. And I was like, oh, I'm confused. Right. But they wouldn't give it to me. So I remember saying to my mentor, who was at my first retreat that I hosted there, we walked by and I said, one day that room will be mine. One day I will have that room. And 2 years, it's probably about 2.5 years later now. And that is the room that we will have it in this year. Awesome. So is that cool? Isn't that so cool? So, it's really a neat thing and I didn't realize that at first because I went back to this hotel. Like I've been to other hotels since. So this isn't, the first time I've had a big conference. I've been doing big conferences now for the past several years, but it's the first time I've been back to that hotel. And I remember saying that and I went, actually, my mentor reminded me, she goes, you said you'd be back there. You said you'd have that room. And I went, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Beautiful thing. Yeah.
Well, Kate, thank you very much for sharing all of this stuff. I think it's a very different look into how we create our stories, how we get down into it, how we connect with our audiences. And I know that it's been very helpful for me as I've been working through writing and sharing my story and trying to have a larger impact in the world so that I can do the things that I want to do. So thank you for everything that you have taught me. We will have so much information in the notes for people to connect with you. And is there anything you'd like to close with?
I would just like to say to anyone who is listening right now, thank you for being you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.